Alright, so virtual learning, new thing for everyone. It's unfortunate. It's more fun for us to all interact in person. You get more out of it. So I'm going to try my best to give people as much of an experience as I can. So this is our virtual field trip for the Apiaceae or carrot family. Here's some Queen Anne's lace, also known as wild carrot. It is an apiaceous plant that is literally carrot, except this is the wild form of it. Cultivated carrot has been selected to do various things with its tough root, including having a much larger root so we can eat it. But this is still perfectly edible. It's a wild plant, Daucus carota. It's from Europe, but it's naturalized here. Good fall flower resource for pollinators. It blooms late in the season. I am a carrot. This is a carrot. It is the domesticated version of Daucus carota, Queen Anne's lace. This is the root of the plant. It doesn't have the leaves on it anymore, and it doesn't actually have the fibrous roots that you would normally get. So if you pick a carrot, you're going to have a bunch of dirt along the edges of it, and you're going to have some roots that are actually useful for pulling water and nutrients out of the soil. This is just the part that stores the energy for next year. So recall that the majority of apiaceous plants, like brassicaceous plants, have a life cycle strategy where their first year of life, they have a rosette, they have a photosynthetic stage where they are producing as much energy as possible during the season to put a bunch of energy, usually underground. They're biennials, so the first year they build this. The following year, this is going to fuel the flowering that occurs, and that allows the plant to finish its life cycle. That plant generally will then produce seeds, and it will die. So this is just your typical carrot. But did you know that carrots are not just orange? You can have yellow carrots, you can have purple carrots, and all sorts of other things. What I'm really excited to do now is try some of these different colored carrots. Why don't I just kind of clear my palette with a few orange ones? Give me just a minute. Alright. I want to try this yellowy guy. It's almost like yellow or white colored. It doesn't taste like there's much to it. Now, that's not always a bad thing, actually. Some people are a little bit less tolerant of strong flavors, and sometimes we want people who perhaps have some neurodivergence and who are picky eaters because most things bother them. If you have something that's much milder in flavor that's still semi-nutritious or that, is good for them, it's good to have it. It's good to have it around, because it gives them what they need without having to worry that they're not going to want to eat it because it's too much for their palate. So, even though I personally don't dig it, because there's not really anything exciting to it for me, I like that it's an option for people who may need that. Oh yeah, that's good. Now I'm really excited to try this purple carrot. No, not much there either. I mean, I've had like orange carrots that have a really like sweet, sugary flavor to them. There are so many cultivars of carrots, even if they're all the same color, you can have different varieties. You know, like if you go to the store and you see like the burpee carrot seed packets, there are a whole bunch of different versions of the carrots where some of them grow really long, some of them are kind of wide rather than long, some of them stay fairly small, some of them, you know, are darker orange, and some of them, you know, are crispier, some of them harvest earlier, you know, like people have bred these things to do all sorts of things for them. So you're going to expect variation, and, you know, you have some carrots that have one flavor to them, some carrots that have another. I just really wish that, you know, some of these other plants that you see in the grocery store, you would know, like, what the cultivar is. Like, apples and pears, you go to the grocery store, same with grapes to some extent. And it tells you, you know, like, is it a Red Delicious apple or a Honeycrisp or a Raikou apple or a, was it Raikou or Raikou? Anyway, or a Golden Delicious or a Macintosh, you know, or, you know, like a Bartlett pear, a red pear. But those aren't the only plants that have cultivars. You have different carrot cultivars, you have different blueberry cultivars, and the blueberry cultivars vary quite a bit. Now, with blueberries, it's most likely blue crop, but not always. So, that's just something to think about. So, I hope everybody enjoyed the Apiaceae.
We've got a member of the Apiaceae, cilantro, a culinary herb for the ages.
So you guys will have to forgive me. I forgot to get celery, which is a member of the Apiaceae, the carrot family, while I was out and about in Stop and Shop today. Totally meant to grab it. Celery has very similar leaf structure to parsley, which is this. So parsley is generally grown as an herb. It's used to flavor stuff. Very good culinary plant. Celery leaves look a lot like this. Then we have dill, which has these much finer, more feathery leaves. Now notice, however, that the leaves are all compound leaves. So you have your node here, and these aren't nodes, these are just parts of the midrib that is split, and the lamina, or the leaf blade, is kind of dispersed rather than being contiguous along the leaf blade. So that's how you can tell this is a compound leaf rather than a simple leaf. Good characteristic of this family. Carrot leaves look very similar to the dill leaves, and this is fennel. It's on this big meaty stalk. It's like a bulb. It's like a stress ball, or you can like do some workouts with it. But it's also got these very similar kind of carroty, dill-like leaves. They're all very closely related. So, of course, they're going to have very similar appearances to their foliage. All right, so I am going to sample the Apiaceae. So let's start with parsley. Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Only one of those is in the Apiaceae. Well, I'm getting hints of parsley. That's gotta be parsley. So, these plants have a number of chemicals in them that are usually meant to deter or even kill herbivores. Now, what makes the Apiaceae so special in this regard is that there are a number of swallowtail butterflies, some of which can break down the compounds found in the Apiaceous plants, such as fennel and dill. Others can break down the compounds in other Apiaceous plants, such as parsley. Some can eat a wide range of Apiaceae, some will only feed on a certain subset of the Apiaceae. And it almost seems as though when a new Apiaceae species evolved, so did a new butterfly. And some of the butterflies that can only feed on a few of the Apiaceae plants are feeding on Apiaceae plants that the other species aren't feeding on. So now I'm going to taste the dill. Make sure you eat your dill. Man, I wish that for virtual learning I could do a thing where I smear some of this on like my laptop, like on my webcam, and everybody at their house has like a port coming with like a tube or a, I don't know, a wire coming out of their computer that they can like put on their tongue to taste what I'm tasting. But anyway, a lot of these compounds give these such strong flavors. They're not really meant to be just eaten whole like this. They're actually meant to be put in stocks and broths and things where those chemicals will cook into the material and diffuse through. So you get like a hint of the flavor, because the flavor is incredibly strong. Now, I don't have a sense of smell, and so my sense of taste probably isn't the way it should be, like as strong as most people's. It's been leaked very recently, and I've had a fever. No, I'm kidding. But I can tolerate this a lot better. However, there are some people who just cannot put like a piece of garlic or a whole leaf of a scallion or a parsley in their mouth because of just the sheer flavor, because they're really meant to be used in small quantities. There are like flavoring stocks for these things, but it's not dangerous. It's not harmful to you. So now I'm going to sample the fennel. I should just like imitate Bear Grylls or something, you know, like on Man vs. Wild, where he's just like got like a cooked thing that he found outside and he's just chowing away at it. Now, coriander and fennel, anise, really good for soups and things, because they get nice and tender and they add a whole bunch of flavor, because the flavoring molecules are fairly water soluble, and if not, there are plenty of natural oils and fats in that soup that will pull that material out, because biologically speaking, most chemicals are either going to dissolve in water or they're going to dissolve in some kind of fats, such as oil. It's very stringy. Much like celery. You should actually be thinking, that looks like the strings from celery. Remember, they're very closely related plants. They're in the same family. The other thing to know is that with a lot of these, the whole plant is edible. If part of the plant is edible, usually the whole thing is. So you can eat carrot greens as well as the roots of a carrot. There are some Apiaceae you shouldn't sample and eat because they're highly toxic, but the ones that are edible aren't half bad. Now, wow, there's a lot more flavor in some of the younger leaves than in the stem, and that should make sense. The parts of the plant is protecting with those particular chemicals are its leaves, which is what like a caterpillar would go after. It has other chemicals to protect the stem against aphids and things like that. We've also domesticated some of these, so some of those defenses are no longer a feature